Hi, welcome to my board game channel, Will of the Meeple, and today I'm going to be looking at the differences between the original Machi Koro board game and Machi Koro 2. Now, I love the original Machi Koro. I think it's a great gateway game, and I love playing it with newcomers to my board gaming group because I think it's a nice and easy fun game to introduce people to board games. So when I saw Machi Koro 2 was coming out, I couldn't wait to get hold of a copy. So just before Christmas I received my copy of the Machi Koro 2 board game. Now, if you saw my unboxing video, you'll have noticed that the only obvious difference between the original Machi Koro and the new one was that the coins have been upgraded from cardboard to plastic and that the dice are a different colour and a bit bigger. Now, obviously this was the only visible difference, but now I've had a chance to play Machi Koro 2, I wanted to do this video to show you what the differences are. This isn't going to be an in-depth tutorial of how to play either of the games, but it will give you an understanding of how to play and what the differences are between the original Machi Koro and Machi Koro 2. Now, first of all, we'll look at the original Machi Koro. In the original, we have 15 stacks of establishment cards, and each player has 4 landmarks to build. Each player will start with a wheat field and a bakery, and the idea is that you roll a die. If you have a card that matches the number you roll, then that card activates. So, for example, if you roll a 2, the bakery activates, and you get 1 coin from the bank. However, if the card is blue, for example, the wheat field, you will get 1 coin from the bank if anyone rolls a 1, as it says on the card on anyone's turn. So once you've rolled and taken earnings from the bank, you can then buy one of the 15 types of establishments, or you can buy one of your landmarks. The first player to build all of the landmarks wins the game. The problem with the original is that you always started with the same 15 establishments. There was no variety in there, and people would just buy the same cards each time. The game needed a bit of variety, and that's where the harbour expansion came in. With the harbour expansion, each player now has 6 landmarks to build, plus 1 pre-built landmark, the City Hall, which allows you to take a coin from the bank if you have no coins directly before the build phase. And there's a whole host of new establishments, but instead of dealing them all out to make them available at the beginning, we just draw the top 10 unique establishments, so each game is going to start with different buildings available. If you draw a duplicate, simply place it on top of the one that's already out, so you end up with 10 unique stacks. Now, let's look at Machi Koro 2. This has similar rules to the harbour expansion, in that not all cards are available instantly, but it also has similar to the Bright Lights Big City version of Machi Koro, where you would have 1 row of cards that cost 6 or less, another row of cards that cost 7 or more. However, there's another difference. Players don't start with any landmarks, but instead we have a 3rd row which is going to contain landmarks that are available to buy. And the winner is the first person to buy 3 landmarks, but the price increases with each one bought. So looking at this card, if this is the first landmark you are buying, it will cost you 12. If it's the second, it will cost you 16. And if it's your third, then it will cost you 22. And another key difference is that some of the landmark's abilities apply to all players, but some only apply to the person that bought it. Some are instant effects, whereas some are ongoing effects. For example, this one is an instant effect for the builder, whereas this one is an ongoing effect for all players. The other difference with Machi Koro 2 is that we no longer start with the wheat field and bakery, but instead we have an initial buying ground. Each player receives 5 coins, then going round the table, starting with the first player, each player gets the option of buying an establishment. This goes round the table 3 times, giving people the opportunity to start with a maximum of 3 cards. But this is optional. If people want to just buy 2 or even 1 card, that's fine. They can either spend all their money on cards that are out, or save it to buy something once the game starts. After the initial buying phase, we start the game, and players have an income phase where they roll die, or 2. Yes, that's another difference. You no longer need to build a landmark to roll 2 dice. You can do this off the bat. And receive income from the dice roll, then the buy phase where you can buy either an establishment or a landmark. Now, looking at the establishments, these appear to be the same as the original game. However, there are plenty of new landmarks, all with different effects. So there we have it. We have the differences between the original Machi Koro and Machi Koro with the harbour expansion, and the differences between Machi Koro with the harbour expansion and Machi Koro 2. So the question is, if you own the original, is it worth buying number 2? Well, that all depends how much you enjoy the original, and what other games are out there that you want to buy. I really enjoyed the original, and adding the harbour expansion made it much better. I'm still glad I bought Machi Koro 2 though. The win conditions are different, and adding landmarks that benefit other players is a game changer. So although you need to buy landmarks to win, you need to be careful that the ones you buy don't benefit your opponents too much. If you think the first Machi Koro is just okay, or if you have your eye on something else, I'd give it a miss for now. The actual gameplay itself is pretty much identical to the original, apart from the changes mentioned earlier. But the big question is, if you don't own either of the Machi Koros and you want to buy one, which one should you buy? This is a tough question for me as I love the original version. I think I'd be tempted to go with the deluxe edition of number 1, which came out in 2015. This is the base game, but it also includes the Harbour and Millionaire's Row expansions, or at least the original game with the Harbour. But if it just came down to the original or number 2, I'd definitely go for number 2, as it adds the different starting card rules and the new landmarks do mix it up a bit. So there you have it. That's my rundown of the differences between Machi Koro and Machi Koro 2. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel to see my latest videos. Bye for now.